Hey there! So, I just finished diving deep into Daniel Goleman's book, Emotional Intelligence, and honestly, it's one of those reads that just sticks with you and really shifts your perspective. You know how sometimes you meet someone incredibly smart, like off the charts, but they just seem to stumble through life, making one baffling decision after another, especially when it comes to people. Or on the flip side, you know someone who might not be a genius by traditional academic standards, but they're just good at life. They navigate relationships, handle stress, and seem to succeed effortlessly. Well, this book is all about that. Goleman's core argument, his big thesis, is that our traditional understanding of intelligence, primarily focused on IQ, is just too narrow. He makes a compelling case that while it contributes to about 20% of what determines success in life, that leaves a whopping 80% to other forces, and a huge chunk of that remaining 80%, he argues, is emotional intelligence. It's not that I trumps it in every single area, like getting perfect grades, but it certainly matters more in those soft domains that are critically important in our lives, things like our health, our romantic relationships, and especially our ability to lead effectively. He actually stumbled upon this concept back in 1990 when he was a science reporter at the New York Times and read an article by two psychologists, John Mayer and Peter Zilovey, who first formulated the idea. He says he was electrified by it, and it clearly resonated deeply. Because here we are, decades later, and the phrase emotional intelligence or IQ is everywhere on toy boxes, in personal ads, even on shampoo bottles, believe it or not. So what exactly is this emotional intelligence that Goleman is talking about? At its heart, it's about bringing intelligence to emotion. He breaks it down into 5 key domains, and they really lay out a roadmap for how we can navigate our inner world and our relationships with more skill and grace. First, there's knowing your emotions or self-awareness. This is the keystone, he says, the ability to recognize a feeling as it happens. He gives this fascinating example of people with alexithylates who literally lack words for their feelings. They might say they feel awful, but they can't tell if that awful is anger, sadness, or anxiety. Imagine not being able to identify your own feelings. People who are better at this, Goleman notes, are just better pilots of their own lives. It's about that Socratic notice of idea, but through an emotional lens. Then comes managing emotions. This builds directly on self-awareness. It's about handling feelings in an appropriate way, soothing yourself when you're upset, shaking off anxiety, gloom, or irritability. Goleman explains that we often have little control over when an emotion sweeps over us, but we can have a say in how long it lasts. He talks about the ventilation fallacy when it comes to anger, how simply venting often just feeds the rage instead of dispelling it. It's about finding healthier ways to cool down, like distraction or physiological relaxation. The third domain is motivating oneself. This involves marshaling our emotions to serve a goal, like focusing attention, self-motivation, mastery, and creativity. One of the most striking examples he gives is the famous marshmallow test with 4-year-olds. The kids who could resist eating a single marshmallow immediately for the promise of 2 later on ended up having significantly higher SAT scores years later. That ability to delay gratification, that emotional self-control, was a more powerful predictor of their SAT scores than their IQ at age 4. He also emphasizes the power of hope, defining it as believing you have both the will and the way to accomplish your goals, and optimism, which helps us bounce back from setbacks rather than letting them lead to apathy or depression. Next up, we have recognizing emotions in others, which is essentially empathy. This is the ability to intuitively read nonverbal cues, tone of voice, gestures, facial expressions. Goleman calls it the root of caring. It's chilling when he talks about how a complete lack of empathy is a common thread in people who commit heinous crimes like child molestation or rape, as they literally blot out their victims' pain to justify their actions. He even cites research suggesting a neurological basis for this absence of empathy in psychopaths, a disruption in the brain circuits that attach feeling to words. And finally, the fifth domain is handling relationships, often called the social arts. This is all about managing emotions in others. and it underpins popularity, leadership, and overall interpersonal effectiveness. He shares a brilliant anecdote about a Zen master calming a belligerent drunk man on a train, using incredible emotional deftness rather than force. This part also talks about emotional contagion, how moods can literally spread from one person to another, often unconsciously. So, if you've ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift just because of one person's mood, you've experienced this. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but can you actually learn this stuff? Isn't it just part of who you are? And this is where Goleman offers some truly hopeful news. Emotional intelligence can be learned and improved upon. This is a core message, especially for children. He talks about the rise of social and emotional learning SAIL programs in schools worldwide, which actively teach these competencies. And the results are compelling. Studies show SAIL programs lead to improved academic achievement, better behavior, fewer disciplinary issues, and even enhanced functions in the prefrontal cortex, which speaks to the brain's incredible neuroplasticity. So yes, the brain can be reshaped by experience, even traits we might think of as fixed by temperament, like shyness. He applies these concepts to so many areas of life. Take relationships, for instance. He highlights John Gottman's research on married couples, where Gottman could predict divorce with an astounding 94% accuracy based on how couples handle their emotional interactions. It's not about what they argue about, but how they argue. Couples who thrive learn to fight fair, to listen non-defensively, to calm themselves and each other, and to express complaints without personal attacks. And in the workplace, Goleman points out that emotional intelligence is increasingly valued. He shares a fascinating study of star performers at Bell Labs. Imagine a place full of super smart engineers. What set the stars apart wasn't hierarchy, because everyone there had sky-high IQs. It was their emotional intelligence, their ability to self-motivate and effectively leverage their informal networks into ad hoc teams. It's about navigating the human side of work. He even talks about how bad criticism, delivered without emotional awareness, can demoralize employees and sabotage their work, highlighting the importance of delivering artful critiques that focus on changeable behaviors, not character flaws. Even our physical health is deeply intertwined with our emotional state. Goleman presents a staggering amount of scientific evidence, particularly from the field of psychoneuroimmunology, showing direct links between our emotions and our immune system. He reveals that chronic negative emotions like anger, anxiety, depression, pessimism, and loneliness can be as toxic to our health as smoking or high cholesterol, doubling the risk of disease. Conversely, positive emotions and strong social connections can significantly boost our resilience and even improve recovery from illness. The idea that talking about your troubles can literally improve your immune function is just incredible. So, as we wrap this up, why does this book still resonate so much today? Goleman actually revisits the idea that opens the book, what he calls Aristotle's challenge. Anyone can become angry, that is easy, but to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. This, for him, is the very essence of emotional intelligence. In a world that often feels more divided, more anxious, and frankly, more emotionally illiterate, his message about cultivating these skills feels incredibly urgent. He dreams of a future where emotional intelligence is so widely understood and practiced that we don't even need to mention it by name, where SEL is standard in every school, and qualities like self-awareness, managing destructive emotions, and empathy are must-haves in the workplace, especially for leaders. Imagine a world like that. Our families, our schools, our jobs, and our communities would indeed be all the more humane and nourishing. So, if you're looking for a book that isn't just theory but offers a powerful scientifically backed argument for nurturing the human heart and mind, Emotional Intelligence is definitely worth your time. It truly offers practical insights that can help you understand yourself and others better, and ultimately live a more fulfilling and successful life. No matter how you define success, it challenges you to become more attuned, more skilled, and ultimately more human in your interactions. Give it a read.